Yeah. Yeah. I have a daughter in college now, and I know that is not cheap.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, we lived in PA, and honestly, my colleges were going to be Slippery Rock, Indiana, Clarion, and took Scott to a Penn State football camp, and he just loved it there. And they would always call him out for demonstration because he had such good technique. And Tom Bradley said, Scott, I'm going to give you a college. They're going to love you. And he gave us Mount Union. And that's where we ended up.
Yeah, it's funny. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania myself, and I went to Clarion. My wife went to IUP.
Okay.
And then a lot of my family went to Slippery Rock as well. So I am very familiar with all of. I actually, in my younger days, got in trouble at Slippery Rock. But we won't go there.
I loved it there. It was a nice school. It was.
But most importantly, living in that area, I did hear correctly that you are Steelers fan. Is that right?
We are Steelers fans. And you know what? It's funny. Everybody says, where are you from? And I want to say Pittsburgh right off the bat because, it's hard for me to say Cleveland. And,
yeah.
But you know what? It's funny because Scott said to me the other day, he said, you know what? He said, I've been almost half my life here in Cleveland now. And I said, Scott, I could have been here for 30 years and in Pittsburgh for 10, and I still would have been a Steeler fan.
That's right.
Yeah, once a Yinzer, always a Yinzer.
You're right. You're Yinzer. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little connection. You're a Steeler fan. Mitch Trubisky went to high school in Mentor.
Yes. And you know what? I said to somebody up here, I came up here and I retired whenever we moved up here to help Scott open up his first gym. And I got into a mentor autistic school, and I've been in teaching for 6 years. And I always tease the faculty up here. I said, listen, I'm just so happy they're going to finally have Steeler gear in Ohio, because Mitch Trubisky's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you mentioned you're a teacher. Have you always been a teacher?
I've been a teacher, yes, for 28 years. And, my kids actually, Stephen and Shayna, they are both in health and phys ed, and just great teachers. And my other kids are in CrossFit, and it's just so nice to see that, I think God kind of wants you to serve the public and, help out as many people as you can. And it's amazing. I still get people, I'm not real big on Facebook or Instagram, but I go on there, and every now and then I'll get somebody says, you really changed my life. You really helped me out. It's really nice to see that. Sometimes you just plant that seed somewhere and it makes a difference for somebody. And I'm just really proud of those two being school teachers. And my oldest son's in law enforcement. And of course, the other three are in the CrossFit.
Yeah. But even one of those is a certified EMT, right? Are you with us, Dave?
Yes, I can. It's just, go ahead. Yeah, I think I can hear you.
Yeah, I was saying even one of your CrossFitters is a certified EMT.
Yes, Spencer. Absolutely. He just got it renewed here the other day. He told me. That's really kind of neat also.
Mm-hmm.
So your whole family is kind of centered around fitness, right? Even law enforcement, you got to think is fitness. You've got health and phys ed as teachers, and then the CrossFitters. Did you instill that in them at a very young age?
Having 6 kids, it was just, we got them involved in as much as we possibly could. And it was just to kind of burn some energy, stay focused on whatever you were doing. The kids, as they grew up, they did every sport that there was. And it was never a question, hey, do you guys want to play football or do you want to play basketball? It was, I signed you up for, whatever it was. I mean, I remember taking Shayna and the twins down to, we boxed. We went to a boxing rink, and it was kind of like an old Rocky Balboa place that didn't have a whole lot of heat in it. And we would do some CrossFit workouts in there, but they were always, they box. My daughter would, she can wrestle with the best. She can take care of herself, believe it or not. But they enjoyed it, and it was just kind of, we started out whenever they were about 3 years old, and I think Scott did his first triathlon when he was 4, believe it or not, at the YMCA. But we used to take the kids out to the ice skating rink and put the skates on them, put them at the center of the rink, and then we would skate, and they would find their way into doing whatever they had to do to get up on that ice. But they enjoyed that.
So we've heard the story from Spencer and Saxon about the accident and how after that, their recovery, they kind of became couch potatoes. And you kind of put your foot down and said, we're going to do something about this. And that's kind of how their dive into CrossFit happened. Yeah.
And honestly, it wasn't that they didn't want to do anything. They were really restricted on doing anything at all. There was no contact sports for them at all. And Scott actually had a knee injury from Mount Union at the time. So there were 3 of them that we ended up, once they got the okay, we started the rehab, and it was at CrossFit Pittsburgh with Mike and Jen Petrogallo. They still own it, but they would open it up, and for our family, we'd come down there at 9 a.m. I was off from school in the summer, and that was one of the few places that we all got in the car. Besides going on vacation, we went to CrossFit Pittsburgh to work out, and our family was pretty much the class with maybe 1 or 2 other people in there.
Yeah.
And Petrogallo is about as Pittsburgh name as you can get.
Oh my gosh, we love those people down there. And I'll tell you what, I think he's going to compete in the Masters. I think he's 66. I don't think he's 65 yet, but we used to pick his brain all the time because he was a Navy SEAL, and he would always throw in the CrossFit workout a little combat. He'd bring out the dummy and they'd throw him around a little bit. And my kids just had a lot of respect for him.
So there's story of you even doing this like in the church parking lot and in the inside the church, like community area, like getting people together. What was it that like had you guys pick up and move to Ohio and start a gym with Scott?
Yeah, I actually started, and I actually was a school teacher, and I started with a few teachers at the end of the day. And then after school, we started in the parking lot, and then it got to the point where it got kind of big. And my principal said, I just don't know if I can keep having you guys come in the gym because, we had so many people that were coming in. They really enjoyed it. They were getting fit, and CrossFit has a way of really, giving you a great workout. And then we went into the church, and the church actually permitted us to be inside for the winter. But Scott actually was asking us a couple years earlier, about opening up a gym, and we finally had 28 years of teaching in, and we just picked up and moved. My wife left her job, and I retired a little earlier, and we came out to Mentor and just opened up a gym with Scott. And, God moves you in different directions, and it was a great move for us. I mean, I know my wife wasn't happy at first, but she's probably happier now than I've ever seen her in her new job. And like I said, Spencer and Saxon opened a place up, and we just wanted to make sure it was right for them, because leaving your high school when you're a junior, senior is a very difficult choice, and we wanted them to make that choice and not have us make that choice for them. So they really wanted to come out and train with Scott, and we kind of made it happen with them.
Well, that's probably right when we about met them, Scott, don't you think?
Yeah, I met Saxon when he was, what,
Yeah.
2016?
16 at the regionals. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to we'd keep in contact with Scott, and he'd always say, scale the weight. And it was funny because, they always wanted to go heavy, and they were just so young at the time. But we had the old hex bars, and I remember Saxon doing a clean and jerk, and it was the ones that had the bolts on the side, and the bar, he went up to press it, and the bar just split. It looked like it took his head off. But those guys used to run around during the class in there, and they would have a hex wrench, and they would tighten up the bars because we would buy them off of Craigslist, and just trying to do it as cheap as we possibly could to keep things, affordable for people. And they had a lot of fun with that.
So it became this family thing, right?
It did.
You and Scott and all of that. How did that make you feel as a father that your family stayed that close knit, doing things like this?
You know what? I told my wife the other day, for 37 years, Sean's my oldest, and, for 37 years, we've been kind of watching these guys, and it's just, we're blessed to be able to see these guys compete. And, 37 years later, we're still watching competitions with them in it. I love it because, I go to work, and on the way home, I get to stop at Scott's gym, and I get a chance to see Kinsley, my granddaughter, and Scott's wife, Kristen, and Shane is coaching there, get a chance to see her. Then I go out to Spencer and Saxon's gym, get to see them, and it's kind of kept us together. Sometimes your lifestyles get busy where you can't see each other, but being able to stop in the gym and do a workout in there with them has really been a blessing. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it.
So I know that siblings can be quite competitive, and especially twins, but I'm curious with all 6 kids, how that competitive environment was in your house, just on a regular basis.
We had a birthday party for Spencer over at my daughter Shayna's house, and there's Scott and Spencer playing Jenga. They had the full-size 2x4s, and it was so competitive, and I could just see my daughter just wanting to jump in, like, I got winners. And it's just, no matter whatever we do, everybody wants to do the best. And you know what, I heard a guy talking one time, and I said to my wife, man, if I had what people thought I taught these guys, or what we gave them in a can, I'd be pretty rich. But I heard one guy one time who made a lot of sense, and he said, it's just about doing things repetitively, over and over again. And we just started the kids whenever they were 3, that whatever you started, you were going to finish, you were going to do the best you possibly can. And, I've never heard one of them say, I'm going to quit. I just don't want to do this anymore. We always finished everything out to the end, which is really kind of neat.
So I'm sure you've probably heard this before, but I was a judge at regionals for a while.
Okay.
And your sons are legendary for being so polite to all the judges.
That's great to hear that. And it was funny, as they were younger, I said, whenever you go up and shake someone's hand, you go up, give them a good handshake, and just be as polite as you can. And they've always been very respectful, and even I saw Spencer at Wadapalooza. He got a no rep, and he was using kettlebells and had them turned a certain way. And I was really impressed because he just kind of didn't panic, just took what she said and kind of continued to move on. And he did really well with that. And that was nice to see that composure and patience, I guess.
Yeah, when we're backstage with all the judges, everybody talks about the Panchiks being the nicest people out there, and that they hope they get them as a judge just because of how nice they are.
That's really that's a nice thing, and that's a pleasure to hear that to my ears.
So let's talk about being a grandfather. You've grown exponentially over the last year or so.
I did.
And there was an announcement just recently that another one's coming.
I know.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I have 7. This is going to be number 8. It's funny because we had 7, and we were at Scott's revealing party of gender reveal, and my wife said, "Look up in the air," and there was 8 geese flying over in a flying V. You know, we were Mighty Duck fans, but there were 8 geese that flew over right before the gender reveal. And my wife said, she always comes up with some good ones. She said, "Look, we have 7 grandkids. That's number 8 right there."
Wow.
It's kind of cool.
That's
it's
so
like
cool.
Flyover by the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
honestly, it's going to be a different role for me. But you know what? I think they have good role models, and I hope they're, like I said, as lucky as I've been, because we've been really blessed.
I like the way you say that. But as a father, and especially with sons, right? You raised your sons to be respectful. Are you proud of the fathers they're becoming?
I am. I am. And you know what? It's funny because I said to my wife the other day, I said, "Man, I just kind of feel my role is changing a little bit." And my dad always used to say, "Listen, I don't care if you're 30, 40, you're still my kid. You're still my son. I'm going to tell you if you're doing right and wrong." And I used to try to instill that in those guys, but they're good. They're great role models, and I'm happy to see that. And you know what? Scott and Spencer and Sax and I had a talk about that. You know, it's how you touch people's lives, and sometimes it could be by saying things, but it's also by what you do, and that's the most important thing of, you know, being a great role model. And I could see that, and it's nice to see them do that.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Nope. Sorry. I thought it was your mic, but maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, I think we're having a little bit of mic issues, but it's okay. We're going to fight through this. So now Father's Day means a whole lot more, right? Because you have a lot of fathers to celebrate on Father's Day.
I'm determined to get up a little earlier than those guys and call them first before they call me. It's great. It's a great feeling. I'm just really I'm proud of all of them, and honestly, I'm proud of my wife, because 6 kids that's a tough job.
And not to mention the last 2 are twins.
Yes. My wife actually had 5 C-sections.
Okay.
So, she used to be in gymnastics, and it's funny because we always tell the kids, your mom used to be in gymnastics, and she did the uneven parallel bars, and her stomach. I remember when he got married, his stomach was just like, after 5 months, she was having our first baby, and I said, "Are you sure you're pregnant?" Because her stomach was just so tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's a tough lady, that's for sure. We were kind of like good cop, bad cop. She was the bad cop. She would kick their butts when it needed it. I was the good guy. I always had fun with them.
You were the rock star dad. Come home and, oh, it's Dad.
Yeah, they were happy to see me because they knew she was tough. She's a tough lady for sure.
Yeah, that's how my household was too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So some of the cool things that have happened lately is you got to see 3 of your sons compete on a team at Wadapalooza.
That was spectacular. And I'll tell you what, I love that. I mean, that's just can't explain how proud I was of those guys.
Yeah. And do they get along well when they're on a team?
You know what? I honestly think they do, and I think that they actually thrive, being that they worked like that whenever they were younger, Spencer and Saxon.
So we froze up just a little bit again. You were saying that it was kind of natural with Spencer and Saxon because of the way they ran around when they were younger.
For sure. And being able to step on the floor with their older brother like that is really kind of a cool thing to see.
And he was kind of like their mentor growing up. And is it natural that Scott's kind of like the captain of the team?
Absolutely. I think he kind of earned his stripes. And you know what, those guys, he actually, he kind of was the dad figure for them in the gym. I mean, he gave those guys the roots of where they're at today for sure. And it's really nice to see that. And honestly, Spencer training right around here, he still visits him, and Scott really helps those guys out and helped those guys out and continues to do that.
So then also big news lately is Spencer gets his first ticket to the CrossFit Games that he has been working on for so long. I mean, I teared up at Mac when they announced that.
Hey, my wife was crying. I had tears in my eyes, and I'm telling you, I am just so excited. And it's not about, I don't think it's so much about climbing. I mean, he's there. And I don't want to say this to say anything negative to anybody else, but that guy works harder than anybody I know. I mean, he worked for it for sure. And I was happy that he ended up where he did. And I'll tell you what, that competition is tough there, and it's tough in every other region.
Yeah, it was so cool. When they announced his name, the whole crowd erupted. It was so awesome.
Well,
because everybody knows how much time he's put into that.
Absolutely. And I think that we, although we do personally have a relationship with them, just from being viewers of the sport, we are so connected and know when athletes are working so hard that we want to emotionally celebrate their amazing, feats as well. And so we're definitely emotionally involved in this one for sure.
And you guys know it's a difference between a rep, a tenth of a second, hundredths of a second. It's just amazing how close those are and how good you have to be. And I'm excited for Saxon. I'm excited for Spencer, and it's going to be a great year for both of those guys there.
It's funny you say that because I was standing on the sidelines with Spencer before event 4, I think it was. And he said to me, the one thing I'm going to make sure of is to lead with the right foot at the finish line.
He did.
And he said, because I'm not going to lose that way again.
And you know what? It's funny because baseball was probably one of the least things we did. And they were on a baseball team, and I was coaching, and I said, Spencer, right field. What? I don't want to play right field. I want to play first base. And it's where he got that slide, I don't know, but that was a very pretty slide.
It was. 3 of them all at one time, and he edged them all out.
Oh my gosh, it was exciting. And you know what Scott told me, being on the other side of the gate, he said, it's really nerve-wracking watching. And I said to my wife, it's been a great weekend whenever you sit back and look at it. But as you're there, it's just, it's a stressful weekend to watch. You want everybody to do well. Everybody there has put their time in. Everybody there has worked hard,
That's one thing we talk on here because we're both parents, and my kids are 19 and 17 now, and watching them compete in sports is so hard. And it doesn't matter what the outcome is. My feelings for them don't change, right? But just just the nervousness of knowing how hard they've worked for something is so hard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. My wife and I got up on Sunday morning and I said, listen, we're going to go find some peace. So we went to church and I said, this is nice and quiet, just able to pray and reflect on the weekend. And like I said, it was just God leads the way. That's all I can say.
Yeah, he definitely does.
And I think I walked out of there and I sent those guys a message, and I said, you guys have both been, and the sermon was, I try to walk out of church with something every day whenever I go, and it was blessed by the best. And he said, when somebody asks you how your day's going, just tell them, hey, blessed by the best. And it just kind of is a way of giving thanks to God for everything He's done in your life. So
I like that. I like that a lot. What was cool about the weekend too is that, Scott wasn't competing against them. So he was there and able to be a mentor and a coach and help where he could. And that's the first time I got to see that up close. And it was really cool to kind of see that on that weekend.
You know what? That was definitely a different role for him. But I've seen that role with him, with other people in his gym. He's a great coach. Scott coached at Mentor High School in football before he decided to give up. He actually, I think, was hired more for coaching, and phys ed was his other what he did. But he was great with the kids. He's a really good coach, and I'm going to say this for Shayna. Shayna is also a great coach. You know what I mean? And all those guys are. And it's nice to see that I saw Spencer at Wadapalooza. I think he wasn't even finished with the rope climb, and he was over there cheering for Saxon. You know what I mean? That was as a dad, that's the things you like to see.
Yeah, we had Fee Sagafi on just a couple weeks ago, and she just raved about the mentorship that Scott gave her.
For sure. She's a great athlete, and I think I watched her, and Scott had on his Instagram, he was kind of taking her through the last workout, and she did very well on that rope climb workout, and hopefully she qualifies in that this last one.
Yeah, I hope so. She's just good people.
For sure.
There was something else I was going to talk about, and I've totally lost it.
Scott, you were talking about Scott and maybe it was Scott.
Fees, mentorship.
Yeah, I was going to totally change subjects. Okay. But anyway, I just got to tell you, I love chatting with you. When I was up judging Saxon for the Rogue Invitational and getting to sit down and talk with you, you take me back home because you've got that Yinzer accent. You talk like my dad does, and it just was awesome. And I really enjoy the conversations I've had with you over the past.
Well, I'll tell you what, Scott, it's been really, sometimes I talk too much, and probably, I think Scott and I, we have a hard time when we get together because he wants to talk and I want to talk, and we're like buttoned together. And it's funny because I love talking about CrossFit. I love talking about, I've been going to his Bible study, and he has a great group down there right now that, they do a little bit of fitness, and then they just read a little bit of the Bible. And it's just, I think he's going in a little bit different direction, and it's really great to see that. You know what I mean? I love it, and I enjoy talking to you whenever you were judging Saxon, and I thought I got to call you back and get on here for you. Just I thought that was a great idea.
I remember what I was going to ask you. Being the father of a female athlete in comparison to a male athlete, how was that as Shay was coming up through her basketball playing? And if people don't know, she actually competed at West Coast Classic last year on the mentality team.
Yes.
And she's a phenomenal athlete.
Shayna and I used to be kind of best friends because I love basketball. The other 5 boys, Shayna she smokes them in basketball. They don't pick up a basketball when she's around. But her and I used to go to the YMCA almost every other night, and we'd get involved in a game down there, playing mostly with guys and college athletes. And Shayna, it's kind of funny you say that, but there was never really any. Is that a boy or is that a girl? They were always treated the same. You know what I mean? Her CrossFit has gotten a lot better. In fact, I was down there the other day. She's walking on her hands, and those are things that she, never did before whenever she was playing college basketball. But she's gotten a lot stronger, and I wouldn't be surprised to see her on a team or even going as an individual. I mean, if that's what she wanted right now, she's a great teacher, but I think she could do whatever she wanted to do. She's pretty talented, and I'm really proud of her.
And she was captain at Mount Union, right? Like
she was, and just a great, selfless player. I would always come home and my wife would say, "Man, she had that shot," and I said, "But she made a great assist." You know what I mean? She just, it was about sharing the ball for her. You know what I mean? She didn't care how many points she scored. She wasn't worried about statistics, but she just did what she had to do to have the team do well. Very team oriented for sure.
So how often do the boys call you now, especially Scott and Saxon, who have pretty new kids, and ask for advice?
I actually called Saxon this morning. So Chloe and Sophia just turned 1 today. So
well, happy birthday to them.
Yeah.
We caught up early and talked to him. I just talked to Spencer right before I got on you. I said, Spencer, I'm going to talk to Scott. I said, he said, just be yourself. And, I said, that's easy to say, Spencer. I said, and I just talked to him and Scott. I saw yesterday, and my daughter Shane I saw. The only one I don't get a chance to see is Sean, and he has 4 kids, and he actually is over by Harrisburg. He's in law enforcement, but his job is moving him over into the Erie area. So he just called me this morning, and he said that they're looking at moving into a house, and it's going to be only about an hour away. So we're really excited about that.
So how do you respond when Taylor dresses the twins in Brown's outfits? I do the same thing. I'm always like, oh, no.
That doesn't fly. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I love those little babies are the best. Oh my gosh, they're growing so big. But I'll just have to make sure that I get some Steeler gear for them, sure. But
there you go.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Is Saxon a Steeler fan?
Saxon is a Steeler fan, and he, I think the only one that's kind of going over on the other side a little bit is Scott, and he just I don't know. You just got to be in Pittsburgh as long as I have. That I could have moved anywhere in the United States, and I could have put on a Seattle hat. I could have put on a Tampa Bay hat. I just can't put on a Browns hat.
No.
No.
I get it.
No. It's funny because when I first met Saxon, I knew he was a Penguins fan, and we would text back and forth on Instagram when the Penguins were winning the Stanley Cup there for a little bit, and that's how we kind of got a little bit closer. But yeah, I wasn't sure if he was a Steelers fan or not.
Yeah, we have a little group chat, and there's a few of us are Pittsburgh, and I'd say probably more Pittsburgh, and there's a few on there that are Cleveland, but we always get the emojis going during that game.
I bet.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Dave, this has been a blast. I'm so thankful that you jumped on with us. It's always good catching up with you. Well, with that,
listen,
we're going to wish
so
you.
There you go.
There we go. We have you back.
Okay. Yes. And listen, I love talk. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to both of you. I really enjoyed it. And it was great seeing you.